Right now, your brain is lying to you. Not sometimes. Not maybe. Right now. There's a voice in your head, the one you think is you, that's been running a con since you were old enough to think. And every time you forget a word every time a name slips away, every time your mind feels slower than it used to, that voice says, "You're disappearing." You know exactly what I'm talking about. Here's what Ram Dass understood about this, that will change how you experience your entire life. It's 2 a.m. You're lying there, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. The house is quiet, but inside your head, chaos. You were trying to remember someone's name earlier, someone you've known for years, someone you've talked to 100 times, and it wouldn't come. You stood there, mouth half open, waiting for your brain to deliver something that should have been automatic, and it didn't. Now your mind is racing. What if this is the beginning? What if I'm losing it? What if 10 years from now, I won't recognize my own children? Your chest feels tight. Your jaw is clenched. Your stomach has that sick, hollow feeling. You've Googled it before, late at night, when no one was watching. Early signs, risk factors, what dementia looks like in the beginning. And you lie there now, cataloging evidence. That word you couldn't find last week, the appointment you almost forgot, the moment you walked into a room and stood there, blank, not knowing why you came. Your mind builds a case against itself, and it delivers the verdict. Something's wrong with you. Notice what's happening. Your body is here, safe, in bed, breathing. But your mind, it's 10 years in the future, watching you become someone you don't recognize, grieving a death that hasn't happened, living a nightmare that only exists in thought. That gap between where your body is and where your mind is, that's where the terror lives. And that terror is based on one assumption. You are your mind. If the mind goes, you go. That's the lie. Here's what Ram Dass realized that changes everything. The terror you feel about mental decline isn't really about losing function. It's about losing yourself. Because somewhere along the way, you made a deal. An unconscious deal. One you never signed, but somehow agreed to. You agreed to believe that your thoughts are you. Your memories. That's you. Your intelligence. That's you. Your ability to recall names and dates and clever things to say. That's you. Your personality, your mental quickness, your capacity to think clearly. All you. So when those start slipping, it feels like death. Like you're dissolving. Like the thing that makes you you is evaporating into nothing. But here's the mechanism Ram Dass discovered. You're not your thoughts. You're the one watching your thoughts. You're not your memories. You're the awareness in which memories appear. You're not your brain. You're the consciousness using the brain as a tool. And here's what that means. A tool can break. A tool can malfunction. A tool can wear out. But the one using the tool, still there, still aware, still witnessing. Think about it this way. When you forget a word, who notices that you forgot it? Something in you knows the word is missing. Something in you watches the mind search. Something in you feels the frustration. That something that witness isn't the thought. It's what watches the thought. When your mind feels foggy, who knows it's foggy? Who notices the fog? When you have a thought, who watches the thought appear and dissolve? That's you, not the thought, the watcher, the unchanging awareness behind all the changing content. When you don't see this, here's what happens. You spend your whole life terrified of aging. You spend your 40s, 50s, 60s watching for signs of decline, like a hypochondriac watches for symptoms. You catastrophize every forgotten name. You treat every mental slip like evidence of doom. You grieve your future self while missing your present life. And worst of all, you believe a story that isn't even true. The story that says, when the brain goes, you go. But here's where it gets interesting. Ram Dass didn't just teach this. He was forced to live it. There's a story about Ram Dass that changes how you see this. February 1997. Ram Dass was 65 years old. At the height of his teaching, sharp as ever, speaking to audiences around the world, writing books, counseling people in crisis. Words were his instrument, his gift, his entire identity as a teacher. Then he woke up on the floor of his home. He couldn't move the right side of his body. He couldn't speak. A massive stroke, brain hemorrhage, the kind that destroys people. They rushed him to the hospital. The right side of his body was paralyzed. His speech was reduced to broken fragments. Words he'd used his whole life gone, locked somewhere in a brain that wouldn't cooperate. His quick wit, the thing that had charmed audiences for 30 years, vanished overnight. For a man who had built everything on the mind, this should have been total annihilation. The end. Not just of his career, of him. And here's what happened. He watched. He lay in that hospital bed, frustrated, afraid, grieving, and he watched. He watched the frustration arise when words wouldn't come. He watched the fear when he couldn't move. He watched the grief, the anger, the depression. He watched his mind search desperately for something it couldn't find. He watched all of it. And he noticed something extraordinary. The watcher was still there. The body wasn't working right. The brain wasn't working right. The instrument was broken, but the awareness that noticed these things, perfectly intact, unchanged, still watching, still here. He later said, "I am not my arm that doesn't work. I am not my leg that won't move. I am not my brain that can't find words." He called it stroke yoga, using the stroke, the very thing that should have destroyed him, as a spiritual practice. Every time he couldn't find a word, he practiced. He watched the mind struggle. He watched the frustration rise. He watched the embarrassment, the grief, the fear. And he noticed, I'm still here. The witness was still witnessing. The soul was still home. This isn't metaphor. This isn't philosophy to make sick people feel better. This isn't spiritual bypassing. This is something you can experience right now. Close your eyes for 1 second. Watch a thought arise. Notice the thought. Now notice what's watching the thought. That you already know someone like this. They're older. Maybe much older, and something about them doesn't match what you expect. They forget things sometimes. They move slower. Their mind isn't as quick as it used to be, but there's a presence, a stillness, something in their eyes that's completely at peace, something that isn't fighting what's happening. When they can't find a word, they don't panic. They pause. They smile slightly. Maybe they say, "There's a word. It'll come." And then they wait. No terror, no spiral of self-doubt, just patience. You watch them and you think, how are they so calm about this? They've learned something. They've stopped identifying with the machinery. They know the difference between the car and the driver. Compare this to most people. They're either in denial, forcing themselves to stay sharp, doing puzzles like their life depends on it, panicking at every slip, fighting aging like it's an enemy to defeat, white-knuckling against the inevitable, or they're in despair, giving up, assuming decline means death, living in constant fear of what's coming, missing the present because they're mourning the future, already grieving themselves while they're still alive. The person who gets it, neither. They understand what Ram Dass understood. The mind is a wonderful servant and a terrible master. When you know you're not your mind, you can watch it change without terror. You can witness decline without despair. You can lose function without losing yourself, because you, the real you, was never the function. Remember at the beginning when I said your brain is lying to you? Now you understand what the lie is. The lie is, you are your thoughts. The truth is, you are the awareness in which thoughts appear and dissolve. Once you see this, 3 things shift. First, you stop fearing mental decline the same way. Not because you pretend it won't happen. It might. But you realize it's not the same as dying. The machinery can wear down. The instrument can break. You remain. Second, you stop identifying with your worst thoughts. That anxious voice at 2 a.m. That's not you. The catastrophic predictions, not you. The self-criticism, the fear, the doubt, not you. You're the one watching all of it, and you can watch it without believing it. You can notice a thought without becoming it. Third, you become present. Because when you're not terrified of losing your mind, you can actually erase your mind. For right now, for this moment, for the only place life actually happens, you stop grieving futures that haven't come. You stop defending against losses that aren't here yet. You start living here, where you actually are. The old pattern was this: think a thought, believe you are that thought. Fear the loss of mind, believe you are your mind. Live in terror of a future that's just another thought. The new pattern is this: think a thought, watch it pass. Notice the mind changing, notice you're still here. Rest in the awareness that doesn't age, doesn't decline, doesn't disappear. Not because you should, because you finally see what you actually are. Ram Dass put it simply: I am loving awareness. Not I am my brain. Not I am my thoughts. Not I am my memories. Loving awareness. The witness that's been watching your whole life. The one who watched you learn to walk. The one who watched you fall in love. The one who watched you fail. The one who watched you succeed. The one who's watching these words right now. That's what you are. And that doesn't disappear when the brain changes. that doesn't dissolve when memory fades. That's the part of you that was never born and will never die. Tonight, when you lie in bed, try this. Watch your thoughts arise. Watch them pass. Notice the space they appear in. Notice what remains when the thought is gone. And ask yourself, if I can watch my mind, how can I be my mind? That question is the beginning of freedom. That's the end of the soul trap.